think Joe Budden might be top 3 messiest alive.
Being a seen as dialectically opposed to being an intellectual. And because this space is curated for by with they feel like, a lot of intellectual shit don't fit.
If you think that a black space should be one-dimensional and only have a particular kind of in the room, that's anti-blackness. That's how I feel about that.
That we have a huge issue with black folks on the internet going through that alt-right pipeline through a lot of the same anti-intellectualism, conspiracy theory nonsense. Marc is making these feel uncomfortable.
They think intellectual and black can't coexist.
These are just insecure guys who are jealous over who's getting more time on the podcast mic. They're just messy. It's beautiful to me.
Let me tell you why I've gathered you here today. But you know, it's all anybody's talked about all week. So, Marc, Lamont Hill and Queen's Flip got into it on a Patreon episode of the Joe Budden podcast. So, episode is a 3-hour episode. It's actually behind the paywall. But the clip of them getting into it is what circulated. And I'm going to show y'all that clip. And then I'm going to also show you another clip from before that kind of leads up to it, because the debate online has become, I don't know when we decided intellectuals were a gang and like dummies were a gang and this was a gang war, but that seems to be, I swear to you, everyone is talking. They're like, oh my God, Marc shouldn't even be there. He shouldn't even be in this space. This is terrible. I'm like, and it's funny because it's clear a bunch of people who do not watch the Joe Budden podcast and probably don't watch Marc Lamont Hill content or know much about Marc Lamont Hill in and of itself, but have decided that because he's an intellectual, they have some kind of ownership to him and that they have an understanding of what's happening. Let me just start by saying, before I show these clips and give this to the room, Marc Lamont Hill is not on the Joe Budden podcast as a means of bringing about the intellectual revolution for us. That is not why he's there. He never told us that. We came up with that because we felt like we needed to justify why someone we've decided doesn't belong in another space is there. That is not it. Marc is there because the Joe Budden podcast is one of the biggest podcasts in the country, if not the world. And it is a great opportunity for him and it has made him considerably more famous and well-liked. Period. That's it. He's not there for our ends. Like this idea that he's there trying to do the good work and he's being bullied. That's not what's happening. Also, I agree. While I do agree that are threatened by Marc Lamont Hill up there, and there is a level of everybody feeling away and intimidated. If you watch the Joe Budden podcast, you know that Marc is dragging them. Like Marc is
on a
regular basis, like poking at
through the mud.
And was it just Flip didn't just turn up on that out the blue because he says tricky words? Like, it's because Marc do be being tricky. This Marc earlier goes, they're having this, all of this stuff happens within the context of a larger conversation about worth and pay at the network, which shouldn't even be something we should be being privy to, but the reality TVification of podcasting is extreme in the Joe Budden universe.
I'm happy we got a sneak peek.
You know, and so they were talking about pay and all these different things, and Joe and different, and like people who aren't full like members of the Joe Budden podcast, like Jay Wan, who was Jadakiss' son, and Imani were there, and Imani is like sometimes on the main show, sometimes in the back show or whatever. But they were kind of like egging it, and Joe jumped in to egg it. And basically, what happened was at some point in time, Marc Lamont Hill had said, "I don't think everybody here deserves the same pay." Right? That's one. I don't think that. And then two, later, like. He basically was like, you know, when Flip was like, oh, we know what we here for. Some Mona's like, oh, you know, I'm here. You here to be the intellectual. And Marc Lamont Hill goes, yeah, I'm here to bring the intellectual. You're here to, Mona's here to bring the funny. Flip's here to. So that is important context. But let me show y'all this video.
I'm saying I will. So if you allude to it, because you say a lot of tricky words. No, I don't. So I say regular words that's tricky to you.
Tricky words, funny as shit.
That's another thing you do, right? Like, you the busiest man in the world. You spend 1,000 hours trying to communicate and speak to people to be accepted by people that this community that built through the community. I don't need to do
That's
that.
our job.
I believe in myself.
That's our job.
No, our job is to come up here and work and show and put our best foot forward.
And that's what I do.
That's our job. And plus, do other shit behind the scenes.
You mean like promote the show?
To try to win favor. You try to win favors.
You mean like fan engagement?
You try to win favors.
All right, you're right.
Period.
You're
To
right.
me, you try to win favors.
With the fans?
On top of that, even if you do win
They're the
favors,
fans. They're
even
our
if-
audience. Flip.
Even if you do win favors, you try to point out everything else that nobody do. That's sucker shit to me.
When do I do that?
You try to point
Yo,
out.
don't call me a sucker no more. Yo, don't call me a sucker no more. Don't call me a sucker no more. Don't call me a sucker no more.
That's
Don't
sucker
call me a
shit.
sucker no more.
That's sucker
Flip,
shit.
Flip.
I'm not calling you
Fuck
out
you
saying
then.
that's sucker shit. I can take that. I'm not calling you. I'm saying that's sucker shit. You're not a sucker.
And I'm telling you, you say that sucker shit, I take it like you said it to me. So I'm saying,
What I'm saying-
let's do this. Let's both calm down. No.
Stop doing that.
No, I'm
If
saying
you
let's
talk
both
behind-
calm down.
if you talk behind the scenes-
Let's both calm down.
I'm
Because
putting
I'm
all
telling you
my-
right now, the way you talking to me, I'm taking a different way. So let's both calm down. I'm saying let's talk about
You gotta
brother.
say that. You gotta say that.
I'm saying, and you ain't gotta say that sucker shit. So I'm saying let's
You're
both.
not a sucker, but I said the behavior.
Then we good. Then we good. Then we good. Now let's get back to the show.
But that's why you saying that?
Because when you say that sucker shit, that I take that as disrespectful. And I take that as to me. So I'm trying to tell you.
But it's a lot of shit you say to niggas that we take disrespectful, but for the
And it's not shit you said that I take disrespectful. Nigga, I'm not gonna talk about it on air because I'm not you.
I'm afraid.
So at the end of the day, I'm not you.
All right.
I'm scared.
Hey, Imani, I'm not potting. Nigga, don't fucking stand. What the fuck is you doing? What? Are we talking or we lying?
Y'all are making money. Y'all,
We can pot.
Marc.
Let's talk outside.
Marc and Flip.
Fuck that.
Marc and Flip. It's not fucked up.
Pussy ain't that.
I didn't call you pussy.
No, you call me a fucking sucker. That's the same shit. Let's talk outside. And run. I'm running. Get the fuck off.
Stop, Marc.
Let's just talk outside.
We can't talk outside.
They can talk.
No, y'all can't talk outside. No, y'all. Not outside. You're not in this hallway. Not in this hallway, you're not. Yeah, y'all take that shit up to a project block or somewhere. Yeah. What are y'all talking about?
Pot. That's what I said. If we this is all fucking dumb shit. Then we pot it.
This
Exactly. Let's pot.
nigga moment.
Y'all can't scare my
Absolutely. This right here is what you would call a moment. Like when the mind of an otherwise perfectly healthy black man is overcome, okay?
And that Mona in the background, like, I'm scared. I'm like, I don't know if she's playing. I don't know if she's joking. But I'm laughing.
I
That,
feel confident.
and my mom like, just shoot the fair one right here on camera, yo. That's it. Like, it's WWE up in here. What's up? Like,
You know, for context to all the different drama, because I'm sure y'all don't know this. I feel like the majority of y'all are not watching the Joe Budden podcast on a regular basis, let alone like the additional that comes from it. There is a universe of specifically Joe Budden universe commentary of people whose channels, creators who are devoted purely to making content, speculating about the different narratives within the Joe Budden podcast. Like I tell you, this is real reality TV.
I'm in the X community, the Joe Budden podcast. I've been accepted.
The X Spaces community that like what Flip is talking about when he's yelling at Marc, like, oh, you around the place talking to these fans and being a part of this community and caring what people think, yada, yada, yada. So for backstory, there's a nigga named Danny. He has a YouTube channel called The Slop. And also shout out to Menace Material, Lay of Homeroom University, that they also cover it. My boy AJ the Menace is on that. But who really be pissing niggas like AJ? Who really be pissing niggas off though is Danny, The Slop. And so Danny has like, if you go on his channel, the whole thing. Actually, let me show y'all. Let's go and let's learn Joe Budden lore, Joe Budden podcast lore, so no one can say we ain't teach them and tell them the things. So they be like, y'all don't even know. There's all this other stuff y'all didn't say.
I vote every time I can, every time I see it for Potter of the month. And I choose Marc every time. Mind you, have never even watched a full episode.
You see, like you and y'all I'm the problems. So if you see, Danny is constantly like he watches the podcast, like he has a self-given PhD, like in the Joe Budden podcast. Like that's all he does, and analyzes and reads into their every interaction and puts out narratives, which causes real problems. You know what I mean? In terms of their own dynamics, how they feel about Joe, all these different things. But Joe also plays into it because from his perspective, all of this is people being engaged in his show. You know what I mean? And all of this. So he engages in the narratives and plays in the narratives to the detriment of a lot of these people. So Flip is wildly disliked by Danny. This guy, like Flip really hates his channel. He hates the commentary. He's threatened to beat this up several times. He cannot stand this. So he has this YouTube. He has a Reddit, and he has a bunch of Twitter spaces he hosts with a bunch of other that are just as obsessed with the Joe Budden podcast. And they sit around for like hours and hours dissecting this and the next thing. But like Marc Lamont Hill, like will jump in, and Joe Budden will jump in, and Ian Schwartzman, who is Joe Budden's partner, will like jump into the spaces and, you know, offer narrative, And Marc has played the game well. To be fair to what has happened, Danny started off talking shit about Marc Lamont Hill. Like before he even like came on the show officially full time, he was making all kind of videos like, oh, this is a bad idea. He's not a good fit for the show. He's a panderer. He's woke and yada, yada, yada. He was talking big shit. Marc Lamont Hill has obviously like killed it on the show. And so he's changed his tune. And also Marc was never someone who like got upset and turned like, he don't give a fuck. Marc is used to criticism. So instead what he did was he just participated in all these like communities and blah, blah, blah. And so people like Marc. Flip don't like that shit. And now they're having like, you know, they're always in the middle of some kind of contract negotiation and fights about money and like discussions of worth. And then that also is coupled on top of Marc Lamont Hill and Ian Schwartzman launched another show on the Joe Budden network called the Ian and Marc show that does well. It's like a skit show. It's like an improv show. It's cool. It's funny. And Flip used to have a show on the Joe Budden network called Improper Improv that after the first season did really well. They took like years between the first and the second season to come back because of blah, 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 blah. Flip Rowan, this is in the next thing. Second season came back, didn't do as well. They stopped making it. Use the other extension to the room. That's all I just wanted to give y'all the lore. And I should show y'all the little argument leading up to, let me show y'all. And then I will give this to everyone. Hold on.
This is good context.
Thank you. I did my research. I watched the whole argument, the whole 3 hours.
The whole 3 hours, bitch, you better than me.
Oh, I said, you know what? Allow me. If you want to come over here talking and Marc is your real friend and you're mutuals with several on this couch,
Thank you.
I'm going to have the facts, okay?
Let me get behind this. Thank you. Let me get behind the scenes and say shit like, if Flip or Imani is paid less, I'll take it.
What?
Like, if you're going to pay somebody less, I'll take it.
That's not what I said. What I said was, no, I need more. And whatever it takes to get us there, I'm willing to accept. Wait. You said some.
What are we talking about?
Hey. Thank you. Let me get behind the scenes and say shit like, if Flip or Imani is paid less, I'll take it.
What?
Like, if you're gonna pay somebody less, I'll take it.
That's
not what I said. What I said was,
context on that too.
No, I need more. And whatever it takes to get us there, I'm willing to accept.
And their claim, Joe participated in the Twitter space, Marc participated in the Twitter space, and Flip eventually jumps on. Joe's now saying that, no, that's not true. Marc never said that. I just chose a bad moment to instigate. You know what I mean? Like while already. So that's what he's saying. Marc saying that he's never had any conversations with Joe Budden about money, about any of the money that they make, that anybody else in the cast makes, or himself, because he says he is an agent and his agent talks to Ian. So that's that. Joe said he was instigating, and Flip came in and basically was like, you know, I shouldn't have got into it. We've worked it all behind the scenes and blah, blah, blah. But just be doing tricky shit. So
I just think none of this is actually about that one moment. And Flip hates Marc. Like, we have to be so honest about that. It's part of my, it's part of the Joe Budden podcast lore that I love, because it doesn't matter. Marc could look out and say, the sky is blue. And Flip would say, no, the fuck it's not. Like, he would disagree he would say anything. And it's because he's so insecure. He's insecure about his own intellectual capabilities. He's insecure because don't like him, across the board, and love Marc. And I think that he didn't think, because he said in that moment right there where he says, you come up here trying to impress or get acceptance from the audience that Joe Budden, the podcast, is already like made or something, as if Marc, you know, couldn't fit in and be in the same room as to listen to the Joe Budden podcast. Like that was very much like a, you nerdy, woke, like you think you one of us, like you coming in here trying to be one of us and you not one of us. But unfortunately for Flip, he is. And I think that's hurting him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think also, like, as an intellectual who is from the hood, and bitch, I will throw hands, drop of a dime, from 0 to 100. I can understand. I could see Marc's frustration and thinking like, oh, you think that you forgot? I'm from Philly. Like, don't test me just because I use big words and big, you know, those are big words for Elmo. That like, I won't stun you. You get what I'm saying? And it's so crazy. I've been seeing a lot of like the talk back and forth. What I enjoy about Marc being on the podcast is that those other men largely feed into toxic masculinity, like really negative ways of displaying masculinity, especially Black masculinity. Here you have a Black man who is intellectual, who challenges the ways in which Black men present that type of masculinity. But at the same time, we could go neck for neck. We could go tooth for tooth. So don't try me. And he creates a really great balance there. And I think in that moment, he just needed to let them know, like, I'll come down to your level and we could take it outside. And for me, sometimes violence is the answer.
To me, it looked like there was a mixture of all the elements you get at a barbershop when you got a whole bunch of hyper masculinity, a little bit of ego, and a barber debating with somebody else taking a long ass time. And that's when people are patient. Now we got to fight. I feel like in a lot of hoods, you know what I'm saying, around America, it's like, hey, you've been having something on your chest, and now you're using this moment to get something off of it. You've been having this. You've been felt this way about me. You've been not liking me, but now you're using this particular instance to let some shit off. And I think a lot of times when it comes to just the anti-intellectualism, you see that shit go pushed in the hood too. A lot of times when people don't say they don't like Marc Lamont Hill and many different instances and like him, it's because you believe that the way in which he expresses himself and the way he uses words to 4-5 syllables, it make you feel some type of way. And now you can't out-talk him, now you want to fight. Or now you want to use little words him up and act like a person ain't supposed to catch it. So to me, it's like, hey, I debate you, but once you start using fight language, we passed the debate shit now. And I ain't necessarily mean we got to fight, you feel me? But shit, we ain't debating no more. And I think that at certain times, like Olay said, hey, we about to have a moment. Because at this moment, you had me so fucked up, I don't even care to give you no soliloquy or no poetry to let you know you got me fucked up. So what I'm going to tell you is, say that shit again, we can take it outside. Like me, country, I want to smell your cologne now, go outside. What's up?
I just love seeing these men be so emotional and insecure. It's because like everyone's like, oh, grind culture, I want to be just like them. Like those men, they're about it, you know, manoverse, whatever. And then no, these are just insecure guys who are jealous over who's getting more time on the podcast mic. They're just messy. It's beautiful to me.
No, and that is what it's about. That is fundamentally what's happening. It's like they're fighting about the worth of who on the podcast, who matters more. And it's because like, and again, I'm not critiquing, let me be clear. I'm not critiquing Joe, or like, I'm not even critiquing Joe or critiquing the Joe Budden podcast or their Joe Budden podcast universe for doing this, right? Like there's a certain level of podcast audiences are particularly parasocial and they create a parasocial world around podcasts, whether you lean into it or not. And I think there's something I can see, I resist it with Olay and Friends, and I see the negative consequences of resisting it. So I can understand why one would lean into it. However, I think there's a difference between leaning into letting them make the narrative, still having, you know, chiming into spaces here and there, and actively like pitting your co-hosts against one another. And that is what Joe does. Like it's WWE up there. Like the reason, like, like I understand it is insecurity. It is Flip feeling insecure about his own intelligence. I do appreciate Marc's like presence up there for a lot of the reasons that Melanie said. Like he is, it's duality. You know what I mean? It's duality, and you want somebody that's at the very least going to give a more progressive version of like than what they're talking about. Now that being said, I want to be clear. Marc Lamont Hill on Joe Budden podcast is not the same Marc Lamont Hill we are getting on the Marc Lamont Hill YouTube channel or any of these other leftist progressive pages. If you're thinking that, you're fooling your motherfucking self. That's not what's up there going down. But he's doing better than them. You know what I mean? Like, but that being said, Marc is coming there. It's very clear, like they have this reality TV type vibe, this of we're gonna actively pit against each other. And every time they invite somebody new comes on the podcast, they making a point like to like kind of flex their own interpersonal relationship with Joe and like shit on the others. It's happened like repeatedly. Like when Imani came on, he said he wasn't doing enough on there. You know what I mean? Like Ice and Ish, all these people have had different problems with each other and different co-hosts based on this kind of thing. So we can't act like, you know, like to me, it's like, oh yeah, flipping flipping Marc Rowan, but this is really Joe. And you got to think about this too in the back, like with the backlight of Mona being their new, because Melissa's gone quietly because of how Melissa's treated on there and how they've been treating Melissa. Yeah, Conscious, you see.
Hold on.
Let's say that no more.
Hold on. Come on, back. Come here. Rewind that shit back. So Melissa is gone. And Joe podcast now show is damn near position like 1999, 2000 rap. So we only got position for a little bit of femininity and goddamn we got to choose wisely.
Yeah.
All right, so I feel like the more I get more context on this shit, it seems just like some real regular, degular, I'm gonna say some regular, degular hood shit where Joe Budden gets to be the bully and the main beneficiary of how he uses his authority and how he uses his capital to get other motherfuckers to do some shit for him. Because you know the bully was usually able to get other people to fight for their entertainment at the same time knowing you ain't finna buck my authority because I whoop all y'all ass. In this instance, I don't think Joe Budden kicking everybody ass, but he hold that chick. You know what I'm saying? So now it's just like, man, I think it's that what I will say, the same way I feel about politicians, goddamn it. Everybody can get the criticism. Podcasts, I rock with Marc Lamont here. But listen, everybody can be criticized just like I can. And I think there is some things in terms of demographics, in terms of representation that can be said, especially because I want to defend parts of the podcast in terms of saying the niggas that I'm going to kick it with, you know what I mean? Ultimately, they're going to be some variety of what I'm seeing on this show.
Right.
I know that if I want to fight for freedom and liberation here in Texas, I got to be able to appeal to that watch that show.
Yes.
So I understand, hey, listen, I got 2 master degrees. I got experience being a professor. But I know if I'm going into that element, I'm not finna play with y'all the same way, you feel me? I'm going to talk on Conscious Leads, TikTok. You know what I mean? Now I'm in here. I'm in the shit with y'all. You got me fucked up. You know what I'm saying? But also we can shoot the shit. So I see the relevance, you feel me, and the importance of him giving the exposure. Like when I see him talking about Palestine and seeing his audience now get exposed to what's happening in Palestine and thinking that he wasn't here, he's not gonna give a damn about Palestine. I think that's net good. But I do think it's something to be said about the intellectual, that being that person and the woman, and then whatever the everybody else is. Y'all think there's something in there? Like,
I think it's good that Marc Lamont Hill is on the podcast. And I also think that I think that's honestly been one of the like highlights, I would say, of my year is him being in that space, because I think that, to your point, like Joe Budden's audience has to be exposed to something other than the bullshit they're being fed by the other podcast hosts. And he actually, I think, he creates like a choice point, which is what I think is important. He creates a choice point where you can either hear the facts from somebody and choose to believe the facts, or you can hear this other messy bullshit and choose to believe that. And that's what I think he creates there, is a choice point. Either you want to be an educated person and change your opinion, or you don't. And that's okay. But at least you have the option now. Whereas before you didn't have the option. The other thing I want to say plainly, I think Joe Budden might be top 3 messiest bitches alive. And I really mean that. And it's so funny. Like, it is so funny to me. He reminds me, like, it's not quite Charlemagne, Wendy Williams' protege, but it is something there, top 5.
It's something in there, yeah.
It's something in there where I'm like, did you guys take the same course, the same class?
It's a skill, though.
Yes, but he's so funny. Like, even him mocking, right, and looking in Flip and them's direction to be like, Flip is also whatever it takes, whatever. Like he knew that was gonna set them off. And
He knew
Flip
what he was
always
doing.
got his butt crack out. He insecure about that too. His pants never stay on his mother waist. You know, he got a lot going on.
Yeah, Joe's giving me like, he's, first of all, master course in instigation.
Yes.
He is like OG instigator. Good guy, bad guy. Good guy, bad guy. That's what he's doing with everybody, right? Because he's everybody's friend. But like Olay said, like, he wants to see the mess. The mess is gonna create the ratings. People are gonna see these clips and they're gonna pay into the Patreon so they can see the full episode. And that's how he's getting the bag. He's being a businessman about the situation. Like, hands down, this mess was 100% Joe's fault. He named names, and Marc was like, I ain't saying nobody's name. That's not what I said. I said, I want to race. Whatever happens, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, he said folks' names on purpose, and in the names that he chose, he knew that he was going to trigger some pain points in there because he knows that they feel insecure about Marc's presence.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'll say is that Marc does deserve a raise. The Joe Budden podcast was at a place where their you know, who watches them is solid, right? And there was no point for growth, right? Because there's but so many ignorant in the world, right?
Please.
And so they needed to appeal to a broader audience. And that's what Marc did. Marc brought the intellectuals into the Joe Budden, because there's a bunch of intellectuals, I'm sure, that started watching the Joe Budden podcast. And at some point was like, I can't do this ignorant shit. I'll wait for the clips to go on wherever, because I'm just not going to feed into this. And now you got a Marc Lamont Hill there. And we are the intellectuals. This is me specifically. I'm talking about me. And I'm saying this nigga name because he gets on my nerves more than Flip-ish. I love when I see an intellectual drive an anti-intellectual through the mud. That shit makes me light on fire, bitch. And so now you have people like us who want to see these people who are saying misinformation, who are regurgitating white supremacist talking points, who are being anti-black, who are bootstrapping, boot-licking ass, coon-ass. Somebody's coming in and being like, you a coon-ass, look in the mirror. And we loving it. And now you're bringing in a broader audience. Yeah, Marc deserves that.
Yeah.
Right. I liked that moment in the Joe Budden podcast world when it was Ish and Marc. Like, I liked that was a good beef, because I remember that one time where he was basically saying, like, nobody is smarter than me, like, in this room. Do y'all remember that?
Who said that?
Remember that? Ish was like, nobody here is smarter than me. Like,
Ish said that?
Yeah. And everybody in the room was like, and like, I gotta find the clip, but it was nuts. I couldn't believe that it was happening. But that is one of my favorite little Joe Budden podcast beefs.
People don't want to believe. Hey, here's my thing. I understand there's a certain level of intellectualism can if you're not careful, intellectualism can quickly become elitism. And I understand people feeling sensitive or feeling like we should be mindful about how we lord degrees over, or just act as though the absence of a degree means a person that can't be smart and all these different things. And it's like, okay, yeah, I hear you. But just factually speaking, let's keep it real. Like, at the end of the day, if somebody is a decorated academic, they are literally known as a scholar and an intellectual, like a literal, like, that's what he is. Like, his books, I could pull his books off the bookcase right now. You know what I'm saying? There's just no way you're going to think that you, who has not studied any of these things, who don't, and I know I've seen issues like response like, oh, I read books in my house. And I hear you. And I'm not saying that you can't be self-read and, you know, self-taught and learn a lot of things through your own independent scholarship. But that's not going to be the same as with Marc. You know what I mean? Intellectually. And it says something about your own security, how you feel about yourself and your own sensitivity when that feels painful to acknowledge. Like, I don't feel any type of way if somebody who I know is factually more educated than me in something, like, oh, they're more educated than me in that. Like, they're more, you know what I mean? They're an expert in that thing. That does not make me feel any type of way, because I feel very secure about my own intelligence, my own this, my own that. And I would be more sensitive to the guys on the show having this, like, like insecurity about their intelligence, because if they were people who are thoughtful about other people on the show's insecurities, like I would get feeling like I should be able to go to a show and not be shit on for being a dummy or whatever it is, whatever have you. But these are people who was jumping up in Marc's face, calling him a panderer every time he explained how something is misogyny because they don't get it. These are people I watched bully Melissa Ford repeatedly with no I'm saying. So I'm like, y'all, I can't give you a grace that you have never lent. Like, they are the reason that the environment is so hostile. Like while I do believe that Marc is getting a good kick and you know what I mean? Like, y'all thought I wasn't gonna fit in, thought was gonna like me. I'm loved here. I'm actually the most valuable player, and that upsets you deeply. If they didn't initially give him the energy and the attitude of this don't belong here. But I also, as I did when we did the Breakfast Club episode talking about Jess Hilarious and Lauren LaRoche's drama and stuff, as I felt compelled to acknowledge there, I feel compelled to acknowledge here. This is a workplace environment. So we cannot, at the end of the day, I cannot hold these different employees responsible for the environment that's being curated here. And these are not like rotating hosts in the sense that you don't know what like dynamic they might have or something like that. Cause that's the bit like, anything that happened on Olay Friends, I don't know how everybody gonna go. These are the same people, okay? He knows. Right. These are the casted people for this show, and they are intentionally being like set up in an environment that's meant for this. But
hey, that's somebody with a master's degree in human relations. I learned a lot about human resources in that. The management leadership is very responsible for curating civility in the workplace, and whatever climate is within that organization is definitely based off of the policies and how they are being enforced or not being enforced. And it's a conflict of interest when your boss is literally monetizing the instability within the workplace and creates a toxic workplace when there's incentive for said toxicity to always already be produced. I think that there's always going to be somebody that has to get the short end of the stick. And unfortunately, I think that it could eventually lead to blows that make it where individuals, even their own brands could be impacted based off of how they throw down, you know what I'm saying? Or because at this point, it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. Because being real, that's like I say, is that when men call other men panderers and zesty and all this shit, we can act like you not calling them a bitch, but it take already a certain level of, I'm gonna say, discernment and patience for a person to have a conversation with you and you already being slick and sly throwing these little bitch, zesty bitch. That's what you saying. You see what I'm saying? So I already gave you grace on all them instances, and now you coming out with a straight up, nah, fam, I said don't call me that and you still doing it. Yeah, I think that you have written your ass a certain, like you deserve to get your ass whooped. You feel me? Like yeah, come on, what's up? Because you think about it, how many times, I don't even watch the show. I'll be straightforward, I won't watch the show. But I know when is standing on business talking about, nah, you pandering. So you jealous in this instance, and you jealous all right, because it's only so much a person can take.
But right. I also think that started to happen because everybody would gang up on Melissa. And then Marc joined the show and was like, wait, this is actually misogynist as
at first.
At first. And then he ended up low-key joining in with the bullshit. But what I want to say is, I think that was a key part of creating this dynamic where they were like, oh, you're pandering. And it wasn't actually, I don't remember them saying it because I'm not watching like full episodes. What I remember watching was the comments, because I'm in that little Twitter community of like, Marc thinks that just because he's saying this, and this, she's going to let him like that kind of stuff is what was being said.
But also she's his ex.
Right. And so there's this other dynamic there. Hold
on 1 second.
Just let me fill you in. Okay. Let me fill you in.
Skip over that shit. Come on, bring that shit back.
Yes. And they also they turned this into, just for the record too, like Melissa's been off the show now, I want to say, for more than a month, like going on 2 months and she left. They have not explained it. They have not addressed it. Just taking little quick little digs and little shady remarks, little ha but they haven't said, they have not addressed it, like either party. But before she left, what had been happening in like the week around then is they just suddenly, like, people started circulating like clips of Jason Lee outing back when she was on Hollywood Unlocked. Jason Lee decided to just volunteer over the fucking airwaves that she used to date Marc Lamont Hill, and then the current, like, there's a current rumor that the cast has spread that she's like messing with Imani. So then here's the one woman on the show, and y'all are going out your way to like highlights, draw the like she used to date Marc. She used to be with Marc. She's with Imani now, like creating this, like, you know what I mean? Like they used Melissa Ford. They used Melissa Ford as just a prop. Like Melissa Ford was like literally just a prop to instigate the worst narratives around women. Like, and this is the unfortunate part. And I've said this, like, she's treated like shit. She was treated like shit on that show. And I'm not saying that to like, shit on any of the guys or shit on the show, or whatever. Like, that's just the truth. They treated her like shit. It was outright misogyny. They made an environment where she couldn't open her mouth. Every time she said something, a room of 5 early is jumping on her back, because God forbid she speak. And they would do this thing where she never had the opinion. It's the woman's opinion, and we don't like that woman's opinion. You know what I mean? Like, you're giving the woman's opinion. Like, that's what they would do to her. She was never just Melissa. She was the representative of women, and they couldn't stand her. And they would use the fact that she was a video vixen. They would use her dating history. They would use all these different things. They would use her like different interpersonal relationships with different who don't like her within the industry to create problems and drama and all this different stuff. And so eventually she just kind of stopped contributing. You know what I mean? Like, she stopped kind of contributing. And the unfortunate reality is this: it's fair and valid why she stopped contributing at the same level, because a podcast is about vibes and environment and talking to people. And if you if you feel like you're getting beat up on by a group of all the time, and you hate talking to them, and you feel demeaned by them and the community, you're not going to be able to show up and do your best. The unfortunate part for Melissa is when she finally decided, like, I've had enough, unfortunately for her, they went and got Mona, and Mona is perfect for the show. I wish I could say different. Like, as a woman, I mean, the solidarity that I want to have to Melissa, because I hate how she was treated in terms of this is misogyny, a workplace environment. It is really unfortunate when you don't have the upper hand, because you unfortunately are a replaceable. You are. First of all, they're all replaceable. Every person up there on that podcast that's not Joe is in fact replaceable, and he knows that, and he makes sure to demonstrate that to them so there be no mistakes. Let's not be mistaken. He could get rid of all of them and replace them with new people, and he's done it before. So a couple of times, like, there was an original cast of the podcast before it was named Joe Budden Podcast, when it was called We'll Name This Podcast Later. It was Rory and a gal, and he fired the gal. Then eventually it became Rory and Mal. Rory and Mal are gone. Then he brought Ice and Ish. Then he expanded, and it's expanded and changed or whatever, and fluctuated and all of this. But yeah, that's the unfortunate part, is that Mona is perfect for the Joe Budden Podcast. And I hate it for Melissa. I know she got to be homesick.
Yeah, I didn't like the way they treated Melissa at all. And I cannot stand the misuse of language and the weaponization of language that men use to justify their misogyny. They used to weaponize accountability. They would say the panderer thing. They would like call out different things, and Melissa would be like, no, that's misogyny. No, that's this, that's that. And like, the way that they would jump down her throat, low key, as a woman, it was triggering. In my mind, watching the Joe Budden podcast, the way that they treated Melissa made me feel like, and this is why I don't trust men. And this is why I can't have conversations with men. And this is why women don't tell men about how they actually feel about violent language and environments that men create that are not safe for women. And I love that Mona's there, because she is a different type of woman than Melissa. Mona's a hood ass bitch.
Yeah, Melissa wasn't.
She get down with the niggas.
Yes.
Yeah.
She basically got bigger balls than most of the niggas on the pod. Let's be so for real. So you're not gonna insult her. You're not gonna bully her. You're not gonna blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, this is like Olay said, not a slight to Melissa, but what can you say to someone like Mona, who literally clowns herself?
And she's established in a way that, like, Joe's done this thing of making them feel like again, he's pitting them against each other. Who's worth more? Who should be paid this? Who should be blah, 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 blah. And so there's this constant conversation about who is bringing something more to the to the table, which is why they have the feeling that they feel like Marc having this new show, the Ian and Marc show, makes, you know, different people feel threatened because he has another like show under the network, right? And Flip had one, but it's gone. The thing is, it's just not a creator. Ice is not a creator. Like, they don't have their own platform. And when I say that, I mean they don't have their own individual platforms. They were platformed by the Joe Budden podcast. Like, it's just a realtor, I think, in real life. Ice was a Twitter troll. And no shade to him. No shade to him. I am merely stating the facts of the case, okay? So, like, it's just another platform. Ice does not have a platform. Imani is a musician, and he's talented, and Imani actually did recently launch a YouTube channel. You see, I know all the things. And he's doing, like, album reviews, and it is nice, and he is trying. So, Imani is, like, doing this, like, Patreon thing. Marc Lamont Hill is obviously Marc Lamont Hill. And Marc Lamont Hill has his own YouTube channel. Now, here's the thing. And Melissa has her own podcast called Hot and Bothered Podcast. Oh, and I'm sorry. Flip has a huge, look at me disrespecting Flip. That's why I feel pissed off now. Flip has like a million, at least almost a million or a million YouTube subscribers. But he makes content. And this is probably like the insecurity of feeling like I gotta make, you know, content that is lowbrow, you know, screaming and, you know, doing mess and whatever. But nonetheless, he is successful. The numbers are there. But he has to do a lot of foolishness and all that. There was also like Joe had lent him money and stuff before he came on. But he was having IRS issues and stuff like that. So you see how they have these issues. Versus Mona has Don't Call Me White Girl, her podcast with Breakbeat Media, and it's fire. Like Mona, and she can carry. I think what is important here is Mona is Mona by herself. You know what I mean? Like Mona can carry the shit just on. Mona is funny. Mona makes her own content. Mona is that by herself. Versus these other people are trying to create, you know, things, and they're kind of leaning on other people, you know, whatever have you. I say all that to say, Mona is threatening, I'm sure, in a different kind of way, because the bitch is good. That's why Joe likes her like that. She's the perfect fit for him. She's truly the perfect fit for his show. Like, he struck. I'm like, I'm sure he's like, damn, why didn't I think of this earlier to pick Mona as like, because he's wanted a woman on the show very badly since the beginning. Like, the original iteration of the show started with like a woman there before he got rid of her, but it's never been the right fit. I think both with Joe's temperament and also just the environment that he curates with all these, you know, misogynistic ass. So Mona's perfect because, again, to what y'all said, Mona's a funny hood with her own platform, and there's a certain level. I think when you are a legitimate creator, you have your own podcast deals, like you're successful in that space, you know, you see it differently. Mona not there to be in the weeds with them or to care about the comments or to be like that. She knows that this is an opportunity. And I think that that's how she sees it, and she moves like that.
I was introduced to Mona in many different ways from seeing clips with Wallow and Gilly. Mm-hmm. Why they ain't sound like
that's another thing. She was on the Wallow and Gilly podcast. I forgot that
opportunity. Like, man, I feel like they feel like we good without her, but it's like, but I ain't got nothing to say past that. But
I think she was. Let's see. I think she was like, was she Elements? Let's get the actual facts. Mona was on.
I love Mona, and I feel like Mona really popped off when you remember that trending audio that she had that was like,
one hand on the front, one hand on the front.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah. And another little quick thing is when everything started happening around Palestine, we're mutuals, and I reached out to her with a like political education thing, just like info about it, if she wanted to read it, if she wanted to share it, and she was like, hell yeah, I got you. Responded, looked at it, and I was like, oh yeah, like you're a real bitch. Like, even if you don't, you know what I mean? Like, you're locked in. Like, even if you don't feel like you're the person that should be having this conversation, like, you're down to at least engage with somebody one-on-one to like learn more, to understand more. And this was like 2023 or early 2024. This is like before it started to feel safe to say anything about what was happening in Palestine. So I'm going to always give Mona her tens. Like, anywhere she goes, I'm going to support my girl. I'm going to vote for her this month, probably, for Potter of the Month.
Yes, I'm going to vote for her this month for Potter of the Month. They need to move you from this community. You're a mole.
No, I really am. But it's like, Olay, you remember when we was talking about, y'all, I had Olay watching Pop the Balloon. And it's because I'm there. I want to know what is talking about. I know what is talking about in real life around me. Like, you know what I mean? But there's another subset of niggas that I don't be around all the time.
I want
Like,
Delaney to admit she just loves at its finest. Like, I need y'all to understand.
I'm not there. I'm not done. I'm saying it's both.
The day Delaney get a Zeus subscription, where we've lost her, like it's all over. Once she start watching, and you have it now. Look at you, like,
not worth it.
Baddies is my limit. I can't do baddies. I can't do baddies. I can do slop, but baddies makes me feel sad inside. Everything else makes me giggle. Pop the Balloon. I believe that Arlette does actually deserve some sort of primetime TV award. Like, she deserves to have a trophy. Like,
you know what I don't like that they've done to Arlette, and I feel like I gotta say this on my behalf, because will copy my shit as a creator, will steal my shit in plain sight, and no one will say anything. And I think the greatest example is of Arlette. There's no reason it makes me mad when Black creators create something from scratch, organic, and then other copy their shit and make it seem as though it was never a unique IP, and you're not just outright copying. She created that show from scratch, and a bunch of other have created knockoff versions of the exact same shit, making money, and y'all not gonna stop playing till that bitch truly get to a bag and sue you as she should. I hate it. Okay,
Christina, right on time. We're talking about Pop the Balloon.
Pop the balloon.
So hold on. So the Pop the Balloon was created by one woman, and they caught storm, and everybody copied it. And that's
Arlette created it.
Yeah.
I went.
Well, you know,
Pop the Balloon is like the actual name of a show by a woman named Arlette, and a bunch of other niggas just created knockoff versions of it. So you have it in your mind. You as Black people just seeing it all over the timeline. You think that this is just a thing, like, oh, Pop the Balloon, everybody, no, but it's this one thing this Black woman created, and then a bunch of
It's Pop the Balloon or Find Love.
Netflix made a whole show with Yvonne Orji, and people were like, how do you not have the original people involved?
Yeah, and it flopped, actually.
It did. But they did. She was but that was smart. That was, again, that was smart. She was involved. She was like the executive producer of the show. She allowed them to be able to create their own variation of it for Netflix, so she could continue her IP, her original IP, her show on YouTube in peace, making all the money, and nothing changed. That was smart. That bitch doubled the bag.
Wait. Why would they choose a virgin to
That's what
that was the thing. I was like, that if it's Spotlight, it wasn't exactly an engaging host.
They wanted that.
I don't think it's her virginity that why. Like, I don't think that's what's prevented it from.
I think that if you ain't ever got down, I think
it matters.
It's hard to ask the right questions.
And she's not just like a virgin out of, like, she's one of those, and anybody who has sex before marriage, I look down on you. So it was.
It's become like a thing, a part of her brand, low key, where she's like, I'm gonna wait.
It's
let
like
me defend my Nigerian sister.
in the bio type shit. Like, it's intense.
I think she is our girl is a proud virgin, although in fairness to her, I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident that was like 10 years ago, and that bitch told us about that now. When you think of when Insecure came out and when she actually shared that, she has not been on I'm a virgin thing in quite some time. Okay? Old talking about what happened in 2012 and 2016.
Was in her last HBO special. She did.
When was that?
Ashley.
When that come out?
Still, but
exactly, Ashley. Thank you. And that's my point. Y'all get off my bitch's ass. For all y'all know, she's popping pussy right now. So y'all, like, it is not her fault why that shit was ass. That shit was ass because Netflix deliberately wanted to create a white thing where they use all these. They didn't. You know what it is, and I say this all the time because be stealing my content, all the trying to copy my content, and they do it terribly. The reason is Netflix was trying to recreate something that they didn't understand why it was successful in the first place. They didn't get why it worked. They didn't understand the magic of it. People like to convince themselves they see Black, and I feel strongly about this because I see specifically Black women creators, self included, have stolen fucking men and other people all the time that think that thing is not successful because of that woman. They want to believe that they don't need that woman there. Like that woman and her thought process on what she created and how is not essential to the success of this thing. They'd be like, oh, get some balloons, hand it to some, you know what I mean? And it'll be, and that's why I think that it didn't work. They don't understand. They didn't try to replicate her formula for how she's choosing the people she's choosing, who she's putting there, the vibe of the thing. They didn't see those things as essential. They don't see like this all white room as essential to like being a part of how this moves as opposed to what they were doing. I just think they didn't appreciate the thing they were copying. They just wanted the money. They
and
just saw
her
it as
follow-up questions. They didn't replicate the follow-up questions, which I think are
the lady is an
key.
Arlette's fan. I need y'all to know.
Yo, how did we get to pop the balloon?
It's the lady. The lady Vanderverse is there. That's how we got to pop the balloon.
Like,
you please feel free to tell us what you think about the Joe Budden podcast and the debate people are having around the intellectuals should not be in the room. The lady is studying pop the balloon like an archeologist in the wild. She's gonna tell you about it every time.
I am.
I thought something happened. Wait, what was the question?
We were talking about internet lore and then spaces on the internet where we watch specific things on the internet, and she just brought it to pop the balloon.
You said speaking of.
Don't do that.
Speaking of, like literally out of nowhere, she was like, "Olay, remember when I was telling you about pop the balloon?" And then I was
the lady, please.
And she said she like internet slop. She said she like, I like some slop. I like some slop. But I draw the line at
baddies.
Baddies. I draw the line
but
at
she
baddies.
draws the line at baddies.
Yeah.
I draw the line at most of those shows. I feel like I lose brain cells when I watch them.
Mm-hmm.
Any Real Housewives of anything, any hip hop and anything.
You don't watch any slop?
No.
It's just not my thing.
Melanie, stop your shit.
I watch Love Is Blind. I watch a little.
I do watch Ultimatum and Love Is Blind.
All of the 90 days.
I be seeing all the highlights on the internet. I see the messiest parts on the internet. Why I gotta watch the whole show?
That's real.
Because it's even better. It's even more madness when you watch the whole thing.
But you don't even have to watch Love Is Island because people live tweet Love Is Island. I know everything that happened last season.
Love Is Island. Love Is Island has me.
That was some black shit. That was Love Is Island.
Oh, auntie saying that shit. Like,
no, the Love Is Island fan base is out of their actual fucking mind. But speaking of fan bases out of their mind, Christina, you can weigh in on Joe Budden.
Oh,
I
admittedly did not. That was good. I did not click past that paywall for anything.
I didn't think you would. I told Aaron, don't tell him that I don't expect them to do that.
But I saw the clip that was necessary to see, and I think what needed to be done needed to be done. I don't know. I think my 2 cents on it is people being like, Marc doesn't need to be there, da da da. And I'm like, I think we should have seen the conflict. I feel like it was necessary to see that when niggas try it, sometimes you gotta talk to them. Like, I don't know, like, speak the language that they speak in. You gotta let people know that, like, don't call me sucker. I don't know, because people push it. And I think there's like intellectuals in these spaces shouldn't be. I'm like, it's not. What happened in being? I don't know.
Yeah.
What happened in being it? Like, this shit happens at the cookout. This happens at you hanging out with your homies. Like, why do we have to play this? Like, oh, because it's a podcast, it has to be this. Like, he doesn't belong in that space. I think he does. I've always thought he does. The moment that he got down there, when people were like, he shouldn't be here. Why is he even like entertaining them? I'm like, he is hitting. Unfortunately, a lot of people watch that show, and he is able to hit topics that people who conveniently can ignore certain things cannot ignore if Marc is there. And Marc is a nigga from Philly. I'm like, he's not coming in as like this elitist expert that's not gonna talk to them the way that like we all talk to each other. So I was like, yeah. I'm also chaotic though, so maybe.
I think something to add on to that too, though. I think something to add on to that is a lot of the delineations between intellectuals, non-intellectuals. It's like, hey, the is an intellectual talking about power, institution, oppression amongst Black people. So for you to create this goddamn hierarchy that says that intellectuals that are intellectuals from studying the struggle of black people should not be around black folks, I started questioning like how you understand intellectual. Because in my mind, the whole point of you doing that shit is to be in community. It's to be able to liberate community, talk about access, opportunity, resource in community. So if intellectual should not be in community, why is intellectual even intellectual? Like, I don't, and that's the part that I be, you know what I'm saying, be like, are you anti-black? Damn, that's crazy.
Because they think intellectual isn't a black thing. That's the quiet part they're saying out loud.
Yeah.
They think intellectual and black can't coexist, and they think black people who might not be in the classrooms aren't intellectual. They automatically assume intellectual has to be with academic intellect.
Yeah.
Or add on it. Being a seen as dialectically opposed to being an intellectual. And because this space is curated for by with they feel like a lot of intellectual shit don't fit. It's the reason why a lot of able to repeat conservative speaking points that are literally structured by anti-intellectualism, and the shit sound cool and sexy. Think about how many times you've been around and a repeated some shit a white supremacist say, but they'll spray a little black paint on it, and now the shit sound cool and sexy. A lot of hearing y'all, it sound like Marc Lamont Hill and Melissa Ford was calling out on that incel shit. You ain't gotta not get none to push the incelibator, you know what I'm saying? To push that shit. It sound like to me it's just a whole bunch of things that's deja vu right now. Like, god damn, this shit sounds too familiar.
I think Christina or Melanie go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I agree with Christina. I think Marc needs to be there. I think he creates a great balance. I said that already. But I think what Marc does that was necessary for that show is to make people feel uncomfortable. Right? I think the show prior to Marc there, especially that it was a bunch of men who were ganging up on Melissa, were having people feel comfortable in their ignorance, in their lack of knowledge, in their lack of being grounded in reality. And I think it's necessary to have someone, a disruptor, in those spaces, right? Mm-hmm. So that people can question whether or not how they are subscribing to a lot of these ideologies are valid, objective, factual, helpful to the Black community, right? I think that is what I'm not going to say that Marc brought that and that was his purpose or whatever the case may be, but I will say that is what is adding to the show, and I think it's necessary, especially that we have a huge issue with Black folks on the internet going through that alt-right pipeline through a lot of the same anti-intellectualism, conspiracy theory nonsense, and even in some of these more positive spaces, a lot of these positive folks, even the economic folks, that they feed into that line, the FBA folks, you know what I'm saying? They feed into those lines of ignorance and they make people feel comfortable. Marc is making these feel uncomfortable in the podcast and the people who are watching. Like, damn, he got a point.
Yeah. I think what I'll add is I think both sides of this gang war, the intellectuals versus the anti-intellectuals, because that's what this is. That's what it's looked like to me all week. Because the way was claiming Marc, like they said, you don't know the like I was like, when you think about it, when you actually know people and you see on the timeline using them as avatars for stuff, and you're like you don't know them. Like, you know what I mean? Like you don't know these, which tells me that we feel ownership over people based on where we place them. And that leads me to say this. I think expecting Black people to be one-dimensional, whatever that dimension is anti-Black. And I think we do it on all sides. That because there's an energy, the same way act like, hey, Marc Lamont Hill ain't supposed to be in that space. Anytime people, the Olay and Friends podcast universe does the same thing about picking apart, this guest shouldn't be there, that one's smart enough, that shouldn't be in the room. Why are they there? Why are they? And they foaming at the mouth every Sunday. I got a band who think that it's their right to cast the show based on who they think belongs in a particular kind of space of Black people. And similarly, like if you should there be an episode where being more lighthearted, they joking more, they doing this different, that or whatever. There's foaming at the mouth in the audience who think that, I've decided that y'all are intellectuals, that this is an intellectual podcast, so y'all should talk like this, y'all should act like this, y'all should only speak about the issues that I think are serious, you don't only speak to these kinds of and it becomes this entire policing, and that's what it is. You turn into police. Like, regardless of, I don't care, regardless of whether or not you think it, like, the black people's space should only be this or only be that, or how good you think one of the thing is. If you think that a black space should be one-dimensional and only have a particular kind of in the room, that's anti-blackness. That's how I feel about that. So I'm like seeing, you're like, I have read so many dissertations from people talking, like, they'd be like, they're like, I don't even understand. Why are we? They were saying, this is what they were saying. That's how I know people are crazy. And the parasociality of how we discuss internet, how we in this particular kind of gang war that we're in, and how we talk about these podcasts. But people are like, why are we going down into spaces like this? And but there's no we. There's no we. We ain't doing shit. Marc Lamont Hill is doing his job. Where there is not this we. He wasn't drafted off the intellectual army to go do this. They're not pulling on. That's not what's happening. These are people. These are individual black people that have thoughts, minds, careers, and are doing different things. And you are deciding that you lay ownership, that these people are tokens for your cause and other people aren't. And that's a crazy way to move. We're like, and the way that there feels like there's that consensus, because the entirety of the time that Marc Lamont Hill has been on this podcast, it has been people talking like they're his fucking parents. Like, they could decide, like, it's a debate. You know what I mean? Like, why are you debating where Marc should be? Marc is at work. And like, with an opportunity he wants.
And if we being real, a lot of black intellectuals move like white liberals. When you treat like fungible objects that only can be used to push your agenda, and if they ain't using that shit, then you ain't got no use for. That's what y'all to come down to. You think it's cool for you to get hired to a position, for you to be the whisperer, but God forbid actually go be with in a space that's privately for them that ain't got nothing to do with white people.
Right.
It's like a lot of, white liberals are love to, you feel me, create a whole nonprofit industrial complex that's supposed to be helping at the same time. They don't want to be around that at the same time at all. So the same that want to parade around academia, parade around white America, being the black face, the quintessential black. You saying that Marc Lamont Hill, we ain't got no business of being around them. This is the gatekeeping 10 to 10 type bullshit that happens where it's all. It's the reason why I think. I've been thinking about it the whole time. It's the reason why a lot of Democrats and liberalism be losing, because you don't want to connect with people that's on the streets, man. Like you don't want to deal with them so much. You be willing to create all different type of asterisks and standards to make it where if you don't conform to it,
you think it's beneath you.
Right.
They think it's like, it's very clear in everything that they've said is that they think, and this is why I say, like, this is the fairness that I feel like to have to the room, because there are all these people that, like, if Marc is treated like an avatar, you know what I mean, for this group or whatever, like this side of the aisle of kinds of black people, they're all online basically saying that these are beneath us. Not even just him. They're saying we. Why are we in the spaces? Why are we talking to the likes of these people? And they feel that They feel that that's felt. They feel a sensitivity to this idea that you think that you're beneath me, like that we're beneath you. And again, I said, granted, is fighting both ways, right? They call him Marc a panderer. They this, they da-da-da. They emasculate him because he said that. And in his rant, when he's screaming, he's like, every time Flip is something or whatever, you want to emasculate, you want to act like you're the hardest in the room, you want to act like this pussy and they ain't pussy. So in the same way, like, these are emasculating them and feeding into this idea that there's only one kind of, black masculinity and blah, 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 blah. And you a smart this and the next thing. So I'm going to son you, I'm going to this, I'm going to that. So the environment is hostile in both ways. I'm not like presenting a world where we're just like, it's the, the intellectuals beaten up on or whatever. But Marc definitely be in that room calling dumb, like, several times. Like, Marc definitely be letting know, like, I see you're feeling sensitive about your intellect today.
I'm about to get intellectual.
Yes.
Charles V. Hamilton, Howard University, Black political scientist in 1960s. He talked about the importance of creating a Black university. And what this university is defined by is that it would push and it would push away from white middle class standards, right? And so as Black people were going into academia, folks were not committed to being and building out academic courses and things like that were pushing against white middle class standards. That's left us with generations of academics who have no grounding in Blackness, in Black culture, in Black communities, because they were geeked to be around white people in the ivory tower. And so we have created this really nasty divide between people who have got formal education, right? And then people who haven't. And so if we really want to talk about it, all of this is a product of white supremacy, unfortunately. And people have to be willing to say, nah, like, I got my degree. And another part of a Black university is that you get this intelligence, you get this knowledge, and you go home. That's the other thing. You get this information and you take it back to the crib. Neoliberalism says, no, you get that information and you get a bag. Right. And so that's, and we have to make a really serious commitment as Black folks to commit to a Black university, to go back home, to spread this information. And I understand why people have like a nasty reaction to someone like Marc before actually engaging with him because of the way things have been set up. I don't think that it's like a fucked up reaction. Like if you have a jerk negative reaction to someone and or a group of people that have been telling you that they are like worth more and better because of their experience in the ivory tower. Right. So I feel like that's just, you know, I feel like that's challenging.
You're absolutely right.
Which is why I think that it getting that tense was actually necessary to see, because from my perspective, I saw Flip switch. Sorry. I saw like Flip switch up when Marc got a little like, I'm taking what you're saying as disrespect. Stop calling me sucker. Like he's, yeah, it got intense and people were talking about it, whether it was toxically masculine. Okay. But before that, Flip was like, you come here acting like you better than everybody, you know everyone. And Marc had to remind him like, we can speak the same exact language. And I think that grounded it to be like, I'm not coming here just to be like, I'm this elitist academic person. Huh?
He did. So I must say this. You missed this part of the conversation, Christina. He did do that before. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to play on another clip. Marc, before that, Marc goes, they are talking about pay and value. Marc says he should not be paid the same or whatever. Everybody should not be paid the same up here. Mona's like, and Flip is like, everybody come here to do their job or whatever. And Marc's like, Mona tries to like jump in like, Marc's here to bring the intellectual. And Marc goes, yeah, Marc's here to bring, the intellectual, Mona, you bring the funny. Flip, you bring the. I need niggas to understand. Marc was in fact.
You missing it because I think he used that word, that tricky word that Flip was talking about right afterward, because I think it was Imani who said, or it might have been Jadakiss' son who was like, so who would you get off
I'm about to play that.
Who would you pay less on the pod? And Marc was like, nah, I'm not even going to go there. I wouldn't even allude to that. The word was allude.
Oh, yeah. The word was allude.
I wouldn't even allude to blase.
Allude was the tricky word.
Being allude.
Yes, it was allude.
Yeah. Okay, I'm
was
about to tell y'all this up.
Was it more about him being like, or Flip just not doing anything? Was it about?
I think there was also an argument, Olay, and I don't know if you saw this clip about Flip's being a team player, and Marc saying, I don't think you're a team player.
And yes, and he really feel like that. He feel like, to what he was saying with all the like, oh, you currying favor behind the scenes, this is the next thing or whatever, is like, to what I was saying earlier is that Marc, Marc does the things. I think some of this, again, I can't criticize my Marc for this. Like, Marc is playing the game. He has a work ethic. He understands that this is a big opportunity and it makes sense to try to make more out of it, period. He's not wrong to do that. But, Marc is up there, like, Flip has been, like, causing himself problems. Like I said, Flip up the, like, the second season of improper improv, that up. And it's because he's, like, he doesn't like the culture around the Joe Budden podcast. Like, he doesn't like this parasociality of tens of thousands and talking shit all the time, creating narratives, reading into everything, and making videos on their YouTube and then doing these Twitter spaces. Marc came in, saw it was like that, and said, okay, I'm gonna get it where I fit in. You know what I mean? And he's like, befriended and moved in a way in which and where, like, niggas are appreciating him in a different way because Marc is playing the game behind the scenes. And obviously, too, Marc's show, y'all gotta think about this for context. Marc's show is with Marc and Ian, not Marc and Joe. Ian is the actual Marc's partner, Ian Schwartzman, the white guy. He's on Joe Budden's podcast, Pod Wives, too. Ian Schwartzman is the one who's deciding like who pay this and who come and who whatever. So Marc is in good enough graces with Ian to have a whole show with just Ian. And so that's what's making Flip like, what the f? Meanwhile, Ian don't like that. Flip. You know, so I'm gonna show y'all a list. Maybe start.
Who deserves the least? I'm not doing that. See, that's not coming. I ain't never doing that. That's the J1 shit. I ain't never. It's not my job. I'm not the boss. I don't do the police work. I'm just saying.
You weren't Joe, and Ian was your partner.
Do the post. It's not Joe. I don't decide it.
No, well, if you and Ian were partners,
that's that smooth shit right there. It's Ian.
You and Ian and Keith.
Ian. On the emails.
You can't even ask that because some people bring their fan bases here. Some people, I'm new, so it's like people always like what they see new. You know what I mean? It would have to be a longer time than me being here like that. Now, but that's what I'm saying. Whatever motherfuckers, if they brought Marc up here to be the, you do very well at being nigga. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like that's how I go. And then, but
they bring you to be the.
If you couldn't possibly say, this person deserves the least, this person deserves the least. Because everybody.
Let's talk about it.
What you want to talk about? Mona's talking. Why don't you finish your thing? Why don't you let Mona finish? She's making an important point. Please finish, Mona.
In fairness to him, this wasn't like a time where Marc just used a big word and it triggered my. He was saying tricky. He was struggling to try to point out this is being slick is what he wanted. Like not the words. This is just slick shaded me, and you rolled over it. Like nah. Like you see what this did? We talking about a conversation about who worth the more and pay, and this said, yeah, I do this. You do this, Flip.
I'm not
saying something that was a deliberate.
And no shade. That feels really not intellectual to me at all. Like that's my point. That sounds like that was some shit to me. Yeah. And you do what? Oh, that was messy.
But the other thing is like this is to be expected from Marc Lamont Hill. Like the nigga is the king of slick talk. Like his nickname on the pod is Dark Lamont Hill. Like,
yes,
that's his nickname. And then we've seen him be this way on CNN, bro, on Al Jazeera, on all of these networks.
We have, right?
The slick shit.
But that's what I'm saying about the one-dimensional of blackness is people decide whenever they decide you're smart, they decide they give you a personality. They assume you are like the following things. Like, and it's like anytime, like I'll go on somewhere like I've been on like Menace material because like AJ's my boy. We know me. AJ is me and Delaney's boy who has Menace material who like covers Joe Budden podcast stuff like that. And I remember when I first went on there, Charlamagne was like, "What you doing on the net, Olay? Like I don't expect you to be here with like good these guys." And I'm like, they assume I was like, I'm like the rest of y'all. I want the same shit. I have the same thoughts, the same fully like. Okay, just because read a little bit, got it. But that's what it is. It's like they assume. And so I think, again, to flip the bail, what actually happened was that my was being shady and slick in the room, like didn't really peep or like moved on. And so what Flip was trying to say was you being slick, but in saying like, oh, you say tricky words, he meant to be like, you being slick. But like Marc took that opportunity to be like, I don't say tricky words. I say regular words that are tricky to you, which is another dig at his intelligence. He was mad, not about like you calling him dumb. He was mad about you saying he ain't worth nothing. He don't bring nothing to the show. But now you took that opportunity and him trying to bring it up to like, be quick with it again and call this dumb. So now he's hot. Now his ass crack is out. He's up. He's mad. He's pissed. Like, that's what I think happened.
The ass crack shade, I think, is so important. Go ahead, Ashley.
Not the ass crack being important.
Delaney, please.
Well, then in that case, then it just feels like a projection then because if he was just trying to say, oh, why are you trying to be slick? And then he says, you be using tricky words. That is just like a Freudian slip there. Like, you basically show that you feel insecure about Marc being more intelligent than you.
Right, but we should acknowledge that Marc is tricky.
On Joe Budden's podcast, I've not heard Marc use very large academic language.
No, is insecure. You're correct. Is insecure, but I need to understand that my baby Marc is not a victim. Marc is not there and intelligent being bullied on. Like Marc is in fact tricky. No, Marc is Marc moving like this. Yeah. Like Marc is good, you know. While everybody running on talking about this, you know what Marc did? Marc went and launched a Patreon where he get a 10-minute explanation of why he was mad that for $4.50 that I did pay for. Because I'm nosy. I'm nosy and I respect good work ethic, and Marc is my But I'm like, that's smart. I like, it's a certain level of, I think what is upsetting to Flip is and I'm not critiquing Flip for this, but he's personally upset. But he doesn't understand that Marc Lamont Hill is decided I'm playing the game. So you mad with a, you know what I mean? Honestly, that's kind of the best result that Flip has been able to get, because Flip has been mad and getting like, letting Marc get the better, the best of him repeatedly since he's been on there. That's the first time Flip managed to like, oh, you done upset me, calling me a dumb but I got you, sucker. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I done said this and now you hot. So like, that's the best Flip could have do. Like, that was Flip winning one. Like, I finally at least got you rattled. Because otherwise, Marc just playing a game with them. Like he be getting them. That's why, did y'all see the other day when like Imani threw the shit at him and caused Marc drink fall all over him?
Oh yes.
Like, are sick of Marc up there. It ain't just, I'm telling you, Marc and that nigga hit him with the thing, got so upset, shit fell on him and Marc was still talking shit. Didn't miss a beat. Like, I'm gonna go find that for y'all. Hold on.
Please find it. Please find it.
Yes.
So then I wonder if I'm a messy person, because this just makes it more invigorating to me. So I must be messy because I'm like, oh,
right here.
this is exciting.
Right
I should be
here.
watching this. This is exciting.
Right.
And
I mean, I've not been into this podcast in so long, and then Marc came in, and I'm like, okay, this is something to watch again. Like, that's him.
Okay, boom. So y'all know that it's not just Flip being made to feel like a dumbass there. So this happened because Imani was reading, and Marc was like,
Let's Can you see, nigga? Like, zoom in. Ownership of the bulk of his recording catalog and the purchase of his music publishing rights. It also makes.
I don't like the way you read, bro.
Read the last line.
Don't read like that again.
And let me see if you do better.
Don't read like that again. What's the last line?
Now, is this an eye test or a reading test?
What's a reading? It's a reading at this point.
Which one? Which last line?
Read
his recording catalog and the purchase of his music publishing rights. And you sat there right there. You sat right there and let my man do that, huh?
I didn't think you was going to let that happen. You the post. I thought you was going to let it happen. I didn't think you was going to let it happen.
Oh, wait, that sound crazy?
No, you sounded
sound
fine.
crazy at all.
You did just what I expected.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Yo. Stop playing, yo. I told y'all.
You can't do that,
Stop playing, yo.
Yo, you okay?
That's a charge.
Marc is up there getting his shit off. That's what I'm here to tell you. Is that Marc is very much so.
I expected. You did just what I expected.
I don't see the problem. I guess I just don't. I don't see the problem. I don't see the problem.
Christina's children are gonna get taken to the principal's office. I already know. Your children are getting expelled out of elementary. Because Christina not gonna see the issue. They're gonna bring her up to give the children the first warning, Christina. So
what's the issue?
They're gonna be like, Miss Brown, your daughter, great in class, like really smart, really wonderful girl. She keeps every time the children go to read aloud, she's like, oh my God. she raised her hand and asked us to put a stop to it, Christina. So
but if they like knocked her drink out, I'd be like, well, you was talking shit. You was talking slick. I don't see the tension being the problem, or the like.
He doesn't. You're right about that. Like, in the sense, like, all these people who don't watch the show are like, "Oh my God, this is gonna be a problem. This won't be last." I'm like, no, I think they like this kind of tomfoolery. You know,
and it proves to me
that
wasn't
a problem. It really was a problem, which is how they treat women. They're fine with that.
It shows me that Marc does belong. Like, the intellectuals, Marc, you're too good for that. Maybe he's not. He's where he wants to be, and he can also be an intellectual smart. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's they homies. Like, what do we? I don't know. It's just like, what is the problem?
I agree.
Also, like you said, like, he wants to be there. I think this is a great opportunity for Marc to be an unapologetically messy ass nigga.
Yes.
He don't gotta be professional. He don't gotta be respectable.
Marc
he don't
used to
gotta be
host
none of
Love
that
and Hip Hop
shit.
reunions. Why
That's
y'all
what
don't
I'm
think that my
saying.
wants to? That's what I keep saying. It's like, why talking like he don't want to be there, and it's because think they are like a part of an intellectual gang where like I don't kick it with the likes of them dumb, and I'm like, some of us can't wait to let our hair down in a room with some dumb. It's like, what do you mean? Like, let me chill out. Like, this is a man who has to go on Piers Morgan. That's where Marc goes. Like, otherwise, Piers Morgan. He has to go on Piers Morgan and fight for his life with a room full of like racists. He have to like be on Al Jazeera and important network. Like, like argue with important shit. Maybe you want to have a little talk, a little barbershop talk with the on the Joe Budden podcast.
And I'd rather him be there. And I think that's what it's like. Okay, so if he don't belong in that space, that space too good for him. Where does he belong? You want him to be in the Al Jazeera all the time or with the Piers Morgan? I'd rather him be, I think, with maybe the ignorant than the Piers Morgan, who is and use him as an avatar, Avenger to fight for our rights. Like, no.
I think like, yes, ignorant, misogynistic, all these different things is true. But I also, for me, these are normie. This is what I consider normie. And I think it becomes a dangerous when I see Black people online pretending like they're not normie, like they are some like radical version of the worst of Black men. That made me feel like you don't be right. Like, it's like you've curated way too prestigious and pure of a circle of Black people if you think that Joe Budden is anything other than normie. Like, I've seen people lump them with the likes of, I saw a list of like, places we shouldn't be, and they put them next to Jubilee.
What?
I read a thread, I swear to my God, about like how we shouldn't be going down to these places, whatever. The morning, it was like, I understand whatever the thought process, but after a while, it was like, Jubilee, the Breakfast Club, Joe Budden. I'm saying,
please,
time out.
But also, the thing is, people don't be knowing in real life.
Yeah,
real life.
Like, they don't be around. Like, they don't know Black people in real life, and even like people that are on the Black left don't be around. That's why I've had so many problems being in the Black left and organizing spaces, because people be talking. I'm like, do you not have cousins?
They talk like, the way they talk. You would think that every is a woke pro. If you did not know better, I swear to God, from our internet space, you would think that the average Black person is a pro-Black advocate.
Yeah, the case.
And I'm like, have you ever been in where that's the case? And I know it too. And the problem when you have that kind of mentality, like it's such a skewed vision. And when you're that confused about what the demographics of your community looks like, is like, and all of that, you're way off base when it comes to deciding what approaches we should do, what things should happen, or even who you mad at. You know what I mean? Like who you think should be your advocate, your avatar. I'm like, if you think that the Joe Budden podcast are radically bad, then, baby,
it's gonna be scary when you really go outside.
It will be scary. I'm like, no, these are normie. This should not be when they were like, you shouldn't be in these spaces. I was like, honestly, if the Joe Budden podcast rises to the level to you of horrible Black people you cannot be in the same room with, then I don't know what Black people we're gonna talk to. I don't know who are we gonna reach other than who agree with us. I don't know who we would reach.
That's not enough.
Yes. Yeah. And that's not enough.
And I think, like, one, I appreciate the Marcs that can be in the room, because I don't want to be in there. There's rooms that I don't want to be. Someone's got to do it, and it's not me. I could be in other rooms to talk to. I have the capacity to talk to. Okay, maybe talk to the old heads who are a little homophobic. Maybe I could do, but these misogynistic, I don't want to be there. So you do it. Somebody has to do it, and I think sometimes on the Black left, or people like Black folks who are really woke and like about it and understand things, they take the like Harriet left folks behind really intense. Like, well, yeah, Harriet was running from a plantation and slavery and had to have a gun. Like, it was very intense. If I'm in a swamp,
she didn't just say it's general. Her belief system was to leave behind if they don't get. You know what I mean? It was a very specific mission. Like a literal physical mission.
Very last resort. There's a hound coming. You're not running. I gotta go. You're leaving. But like, the reason she kept going back is because she wanted to liberate more people. If her philosophy was, I'm leaving niggas behind, she would have never went back as many times as she did. And I think people miss that part. That it's like, you figure out what your capacity is to be able to deal with the normie nigga.
And if you and my thing is, if you don't have the capacity, this is the thing that I like annoys me about. It's totally fine to not have the capacity and be like, I can't deal with these. And I would, you know what I mean? If I was tired, I was leaving these. I don't got no problem with that. Why are you trying to stop other from doing the work that they're doing?
Yep.
Why are you taking ownership, laying claim to individual Black people you do not know?
Yep.
And deciding that they should not be doing what they can do, what they have been privileged to be able to do and never do. That's the part that confuses me, is when we start talking like we own people. And if you really read people's threads and see how they talk about different people and stuff, it becomes clear that we are all like, and it's dehumanizing to my original, like the one-dimensionalness and the anti-blackness. It's dehumanizing to take away the personhood of Black people, that you decide like you think you playing a fucking chessboard. This is a reality game. I'm gonna put in this room. You should really be on that show. This one should be here. And that's what people do. And I think that's a product not just of like, you know, the Black community and all this stuff. I think that is also speaks a lot to what I'm saying of this kind of reality TV-ification era we're in, where people think because of social media and the internet and we're all on there with them, they think that they're like a part of the chat. Like there is a game everyone's playing or something. Like people are not real. I always, to me, when I think about it in relation to like Olay and Friends and how people expect me to cast my show, or they think they can cast a show, or they're complaining about who was on versus not on, as though they know me, who I like in real life, who I'm friends with, how this show is cast, or anything like that, tells me there's a certain level of props, like crossover. I think of it like they think of it as like crossover episodes, like when Jimmy Neutron and Timmy and the Fairly Odd Parents go do episodes together. Like they're like, ooh, can I make my face crossover? I'm like, they were real. I'm not Timmy Turner. You can't just decide it go like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what they've decided. Like Marc is Jimmy Neutron and he should not be over there on Adult Swim.
I think a part of that for me that I find so weird is the people who are going, Marc should be thinking about what this means for his brand. This is bad. Like everyone wants to be a PR person or brand manager now. And it's like, I think he's good. Like you are not in his business. I don't understand the treating reality stars like they're a business that needs to be run, and editing your favorite reality stars into like ads and being like, oh, I hope they get this brand deal. And for so many, that's just all it's about, is seeing the person they like get that brand deal, get that win. And it's like, oh, I think some people are doing these podcasts because they want to have these conversations, that they want to go into these rooms that maybe you don't want to go into. And they're just like, but what about your brands? That's what matters now.
And their idea of the brand is never even like a real idea of the brand. It's always just like the one thing they heard about. It's like, you don't know Marc Lamont Hill, but you've decided his brand is intellectual CNN. Meanwhile, Marc Lamont Hill has been on 900 million other places, but that many of which are consistent with what he's doing now. But you've decided he's only that one thing. And people do that shit all the time. Like they do that. I'm like, I remember when I went into Breakfast Club, like before my Eric Adams interview, I was watching everybody on Twitter discuss what I was smiling too much. Oh, I shouldn't be there. I shouldn't be in the Breakfast Club. There's no reason to be there, and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, do I know you?
Also, like, sue you for actually wanting to talk to Black people. like, okay. But I think there's also, we don't have enough time to really get into this, but the like influencer-fication of everything, it just leads everybody back to brands. Like, and of course people are treating anyone who has a following or a platform like a walking billboard, because that is the majority of folks' interactions on the internet. And those are the positions that people have been put into because of capitalism. They have to sell themselves in a very particular way online to amass the sort of capital that would allow them to have like good healthcare and other basic things that you shouldn't have to be an influencer to access. So I think it's really complicated, but I really hate the way that, Ashley, to your point, people look at folks like Marc. I remember one time I told Derica Purnell, I was like, yeah, when we first met, I'm like, you're kind of like an influencer. And she was like, no. She was like, I'm not an influencer. Like, I am a person who writes books, who reads, who engages in community, and people just so happen to engage with me online. But like, I'm not an influencer in that way, and I'm not worried about a mother brand, and I'm not trying to sell people a thing. I'm not a part of a marketplace. So yeah, there's a lot.
To add to that, I just think it's so ironic that people are having these type of takes in terms of like his brand, or what does that say, and as an intellectual he should be X, Y, and Z. And that's like almost the opposite of who Marc Lamont Hill. He's an anti-capitalist, he's a socialist, he's against respectability politics, he's pro-Black, he's like all these things. And in people's efforts of trying to intellectualize why he is there or why he shouldn't be there, they're pushing the very points that Marc is completely against. Like, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And don't understand his philosophy worth a damn at all. I found, Delaney, you wanted to know what happened to Mona and the Wallow and Gilly podcast.
Oh yeah.
For whatever reason, there's I don't know if y'all know this, the screen right now. If y'all
Who
don't
is
let me
that?
Haha, this is how I know I'm so deep in the net. This is a man. This is a man named Sharp, who used to be on the No Jumper Network, and he is a self-proclaimed former pimp. And his entire content that he did on No Jumper was just he would bring on women to scream at them and call them American a hoe and yada 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 yada. So this is who was interviewing Mona for
Yes, I
context. Let me
did.
play
A
this.
lot of work with them.
Not a lot. Well, I did
Well,
when I was with
doing
the
something
game.
to somebody, it could be a lot.
Yeah, well, it was
You know what I'm
there.
saying? Time is a lot for me.
Yeah,
I
for
don't give a fuck
sure.
if I spend 5 minutes. That's a lot.
And I worked with them in the
That's a
pandemic
lot,
when you wasn't allowed to go outside. I worked on Men's a game when you weren't supposed to be outside. We wasn't even supposed to be doing that. Remember, because you couldn't even be in a room with more than such and such people. Yeah, but I did Men's a game for like 3 months. And mind you, they had put it on. I'm real close with Gilly's sister because Philly's small. We from North Philly and we Muslim. So I'm close with Gilly's sister. And she was like, bitch, because she would always say, go live with him. Y'all funny. You and my brother go live with him. And Gilly has been a celebrity in Philadelphia since I was 13. So I was like, no, I'm not going live with that loud ass bald head. So she like, she hit me. She like, they just said make a video why you should be on when I was with the game. They had just lost one of the hosts, and tell them why they should pick you. So they did one girl. She posted a video, and then I posted mine. My video got more likes and views than any other video on the Million With the Game page. So Gilly hit me like 12 a.m. and was like, yo, you want to pull up tomorrow? I'm like, bet. So I come. He like, we just doing tryouts. We do the first episode. We get through it. Cracking up in there. Wallow jump off his feet. That's it. She the one, cuz. She that one. Gilly looked at that like, yo, if looks get killed, like, sit the down. Don't let her know we like her, you know? That day, we filmed 3 episodes. And then we did that for like 3 months. And then they just stopped speaking to me. Yeah.
There's no, I never gave you no explanation.
Took me out the good morning group text. You know, everybody be like, good morning, y'all. I ain't getting nothing good morning.
You know, you ain't even got to say if there was, like what it was, if there was an explanation, but do you feel like they gave you an explanation to it?
They ghosted me. They stopped speaking to me. And honestly, like, at first,
she said,
number one, I'm new to this. So I was already, bro, when Million With the Game called me, I had been doing this comedian shit for 6 months. What was it, like 6, 7 months or something? I went viral. I prayed. I was like, God, please give me a sign. I got this square ass.
The average air duct contains 40 pounds of allergens, dust, and bug feces. That ends to.
He bought me this big ass house. I'm thinking I'm up. I made it. My aunt's coming from North Philly. Oh, this house beautiful. We got a good man. Don't leave him. But I felt empty, Laura. I felt like I ain't have shit. And I felt weird about it. And I wasn't breaking the law. So I'm thinking magically my life is going to be, and that's good for people at home because it's like you swear it's that one thing you missing. Child, you get that and you remember it's 10 more things that you want. But I prayed, I'm like, God, if it's a reason why I'm funny, if I'm really that funny, can you please give me a sign and tell me so I can know what to do? Because all I ever knew was street shit. You know what I mean? It was probably 11 a.m. I pray. I'm like, God, just give me a sign, right? I put out 2 videos, 11:45. I'll never forget. My memory is up, but this was a big deal in my life. Like 11:45, I put it on Twitter, Instagram, regular shit, but I had never tried Facebook. I get on Facebook. I don't want that. I want some of the extra ice, though.
What you want?
I want the extra ice. Okay.
That's where we're going to bump heads at.
I made some.
Hey,
I made some, though.
Ice.
I made some ice, though.
Yeah. He getting the story. That's why I'm Wallow and Gilly just, despite the fact my girl was a perfect fit, just ghosted her.
The bag.
You
Niggas don't want no
money.
money. Yeah.
Well, this has been an informative episode of Olay Friends of Slop. of nothing but being deep in the nigga.
For slap over white people slut. I'm done.
Stop what you're doing and listen up. You just watched a video on one of my channels, but the Illuminati verse is huge, and I want to tell you what everything is and how to find it. The Illuminati verse has 6 channels. On the YouTube homepage of any one of those channels, every single channel in the Illuminati verse is featured at the bottom of the page, so you can always easily find them. Okay? Remember I said that. Don't say I ain't tell you how to find it. Subscribe to my main channel, Illuminati, to find my Illuminati productions, which are my long-form video essays, and also all of my backlog of content. Subscribe to my second love child, Illuminati Pop, for my weekly video essays analyzing my favorite TV and movie shows and characters. Illuminati Pop also has its own Patreon where you get all of those videos uncensored. Subscribe to my channel, Olay Friends, for my podcast, Olay Friends. New episodes of Olay Friends come out every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Subscribe to Olay and Chill for new episodes of my podcast, Olay and Chill, every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And also, both Olay and Friends and Olay and Chill are both available on streaming platforms like Spotify. Subscribe to Illuminati Bites if you want my takes, but you don't have an hour to spend. Subscribe to Illuminati Politics for my political analysis and my State of the Union type addresses on my show O Squared. And last but not least, subscribe to my Substack Illuminati for my written work.